Howdy folks, it's rjhelms here with episode 10 of Let's Play OpenTTD FIRS. In the last episode, we mostly just spent our time building a passenger service up. We've got passenger service from Stockholm, SKH here, over to Saint-Pierre, or STP over here, with local service feeding the stations in between. And that's going pretty well, but we've run into a problem already, a bit sooner than expected, with our junctions here, especially with this one, the SKH1 junction I've called it. Just these four-way junctions are kind of bogging down. This one's also starting to have the same sort of issue, but not as badly, just by nature of the traffic that it takes. And you can actually see here a really good example of what's wrong with it. Basically, because these roundabout tracks cross over the main line, even though there's a bit of a capacity for trains not turning to share the junction, they can be going in each direction and they can be going over each other. But here's a good example. This train here is blocking this one from entering the station, and then this one's going to continue blocking it because the roundabout tracks cross over the mainline tracks directly. And that's not the only problem. Roundabout junctions aren't perfect in a lot of ways, but they're simple to build. And I actually had a suggestion from a YouTube user named Rusty Walker, I believe. Sorry if I got that wrong. I checked before I started recording, but my memory is not perfect. Which was to use bridges for these parts here, right? A train that's, let's say making a left-hand turn, so from here, or this is a perfect example. It's going here and it's going to turn all the way around here and go up here. If there was a bridge here and a bridge here, it wouldn't have to block trains that just wanted to go straight, at least not inherently. There might be still some cases where there are blockages, but it doesn't have to be as bad as it otherwise would be. And I was playing around with that a bit. I did experiment a bit before I recorded this and came up with a design that's actually quite a bit bigger than this one, but quite a bit more efficient, that actually allows for a couple of waiting spaces as well, but using the magic of path signals, I don't believe it will block up. So I'm going to upgrade this one to use that design, and we'll see how it works. And the basic thing you have to do is this is 8 tiles long, and I actually need it to be 18 tiles, so it's quite a bit bigger than this existing design, but hopefully, with any luck, it will work out well for us. So this is let me just see, actually, oh, that was a mistake, because I want to be using electrified railroad. That just de-electrified me. Maybe not, it did something, I don't know exactly what it was. Let's make sure. Nope, nothing to convert, so that's fine. Yeah, I'm just checking. I actually did take a screenshot of my design. And I'm just looking up exactly where I pulled it across. You'll see it's quite a bit bigger, but that is intentional. Oh, don't have trains in the way. It's going to be the nature of this beast, I think. I'm actually not going to have these connect for now. And over here you can come down like this. So let's check to make sure I got that right. I believe I did. Yes, that's right. And then I just need to kind of, I'll build it before I hook it up, and then I will wondering if that's symmetrical. Looks like it is. And these guys need to be bridges. I'm going to start signaling up before here. And then bit by bit take out these superfluous signals that won't exist anymore. So these ones right at the exits here are going to need to be our path signals. Yeah, so just bit by bit, removing the signals that I don't want. I'm actually going to start removing track that I'm not using as well. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that just yet, because that could get ugly. Okay, but you can go away, you can go away. I'll actually start linking some of these things up. Okay, so that should actually do. This guy's having a hard time getting out. That's unfortunate. To make things a bit easier for it, I'm going to start adding some more signals. Okay. And so now kind of I've got this basic pattern in. I mean, at this level, there's a couple of extra stray signals actually. So you can go away, you can go away. So right away, I mean, it's still not perfect, but it's a bit more efficient than it was before. In that I've got path signals on these bits, so a train only reserves this loop track, the roundabout, until such point as it leaves. The reason I made this so big is for a couple reasons. The first one is that these kind of crossbars of the roundabout, they do have some tight turns, which isn't perfect, but they are big enough now for a train to wait on. Because my maximum train length is 7 tiles, if we look at this, this is 8, so it's the same length as the whole junction was before. And that means I can actually signal these up, which is a pretty big boost to the efficiency of this whole system. I'm just going to add in a couple more signals here just to tighten up some of this signaling on the exits. And the other thing I can do is actually build path signals in these points. These aren't so efficient because, of course, it's where a train comes on. So if a train is the full 7 tiles, it'll still block something out here, but it can go a little bit faster. But a short train can actually pull onto this. Is it short enough? Yeah, so it's 3 tiles long. So one of those short 3-car trains can actually pull into this and unblock the main line. For a train that's pulling here and waiting, it's actually not going to introduce any problems, because it's not really any more of a likelihood for something to jam up here if it's waiting here versus if it was waiting there. So this is, in a lot of ways, more efficient than what we had before, and there's actually even one more optimization we can make, because these lines are now long enough that they're longer than one train's length waiting. So what I can actually do is, if I just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tiles, and place a signal here, just a regular path signal. I can pull that all the way back. I don't want to, or just a regular signal, not a path signal. I don't want it to be path signal necessarily. Oh, no, that didn't work quite as well as I wanted because there's still a errant, there we go. There's still an errant crossbar here. So now a train, because it's safe for a train to wait here, it still won't be blocking that main line. So if trains going straight, I can actually fit potentially 2 of them in this section here. 6, 7, 8, and the same idea. Just like so. I was like, I have a path signal here I still don't want, so you know, still got to clean up some mistakes I made. Count down from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this one's not quite as efficient. But I can still fit a couple in on this side of the bridge, like so. There, and this is actually should be much more higher capacity than what we had before. It's still not going to be perfect. There's still going to be some waiting. Yeah, see, that was a perfect example. This one waited here and didn't slow down the main line. That's exactly what we were hoping for. So this should hold us for a long time. I actually really like this design. It is a risk always when you try to pull these fancy tricks as far as having trains being able to wait inside junctions, that you run a risk of it all jamming up. But I've thought about this one. I did, like I say, tested it before I recorded this video, and I really don't think that it's likely to jam. It could, I mean, if it was bigger and these turns were longer, that's one thing I really don't like about it, is they're not quite 90-degree turns, but they're actually very tight. And if we say watch this one, oh, that's going to stop, so it's not a perfect test. Yeah, this one. So if I watch it, it drops down to 88 kilometers an hour on that turn, which isn't perfect. So there's things that could be better. Ideally, the ideal compromise is to find something that actually has pretty good throughput, but doesn't ever actually have to stop in the junction once it's safely in. And there's better and worse ways to do it, but I actually really like this design, and I think it'll hold for quite a bit longer. We can already see a lot of the places that were backed up are clearing up just as this runs for a little while. So let's take a look at this other one and possibly do the same thing here. Let's just double check that length. So from this bridge down to there is 9 tiles. This is actually exactly what I was afraid of, was this not being quite long enough. And it's not. But that's okay. I don't know what signal you're waiting for there, but you can just be cleared out. You can go away now that you're done. Let's just pull these signals back. There's a little bit of silliness there, but it should hold. So once again, just try to measure these guys. You need to actually be one more down. Something feels a little uneven there. I'm not sure what it is. Is this one actually possibly bigger than the last one I built? So this is 9 tiles long. This is 10 tiles long, yeah, so it actually is 1 tile bigger. Okay. Mystery solved. There we go. Hopper truck, no, I don't even need you. Alright, so put in these bridges. Oh, I forgot the one down here. Convert these guys just at the outside or insert them as needed. To be path signals. Also, these ones right at the ends. And now slowly but surely remove what are, for now, basically superfluous signals. Kind of as the moment presents itself. What I'm looking for is for these stretches to be basically unsignaled, apart from these entrance and exit signals, as it were. And then once that's ready, I can start putting in these crossbars. Okay, I think that's good. Let's see any errant signals in here. Oh yeah, there's one right there. Now put in these signals on the crossways. And then finally, remove this in a roundabout. Or almost finally, remove this in a roundabout. And the last thing to do is to signal up this inside. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nope, that was wrong. It actually should be 8, of course. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because it's 7 and the the actual signal tile. Make sure that you're a path signal, of course. Then finally from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and of course. That's the same as before. These guys need to come up here. They're only valid on this side of the bridge. And there we are. These two are both significantly upgraded. And look, we've left this one. And it doesn't seem to be jamming up. This guy isn't perfect. It could be signaled a bit tighter, actually. I mean, things like this are a little silly, but as far as signaling distance goes, the reason why I'm adding extras is basically your whole network, its capacity is to some extent dictated by what's called the signal gap, which is the distance between signals, because that shows how tightly your trains can block together. And so for this network, I'm using a distance of 2, and so we're going to see slowdowns in the system and bottlenecks. Is places where that signal gap is higher than 2. So for example, here it's 7 tiles between signals, which is why this junction is a problem. So in cases like that where, there was here, it would actually be, because this was missing a tile, so 1, 2, and then 3, it's actually better to have an extra signal like this than to have a missing space. I mean, in a perfect world, everything would be nice and neatly chunked up in those pieces of 2-tile signal chunks. But better to have more signals in one place, because you won't actually, you won't see much of an improvement from that, but it's not going to do any harm, than the inverse and having space between the signals. They got a bigger gap. Of course, here, this is a special case. It's kind of hard to calculate exactly what the signal gap per se would be, because there's so many different routes. But it's to be expected to an extent that this is going to be a bottleneck. And see, here's like an example, right? Like, because of the signal gap, this train can't start moving until this one's clear of there. So we're building space between the trains where there doesn't need to be space between the trains, or where the rest of the network doesn't provide for there to be space between the trains. And that is why things slow down. But this is already working a lot better than it was before. This one too, working quite nicely for us. So I just want to see what this guy's doing. It's in normal mode. That's somewhat disappointing. But there is a train of engineering supplies coming that'll kick it up to gung-ho mode. So with that out of the way, let's look at how our capacity is doing. So BKKE has a food train that just left. I'm actually going to sort by total available cargo and see. So this still has tons and tons and tons of livestock. So let's build a new livestock train. I have a hard time believing that it actually needs this many, but, I'll take it. And STPI has tons and tons of passengers. Our rating here is poor, so that's telling me that I need new vehicles. I'm not sure they're going better, actually, come to think of it. If I go passengers, I'm really interested in capacity for these local routes. No, so the Hereford double-decker bus is still the one we want, so I'm actually going to build 2 more of these. Give one of them some time in the future and get them both started. And SKHC is telling me the same thing. It's got, tons and tons of passengers. And they mostly, I imagine, want to go to SKH. Yes, of course they do. So, clone 2 of them. Same thing, set the start date a little bit in the future and get these started. You can't ask too much of this. It's not going to be perfect. And then I actually think I want, it was showing me there, another one of these passenger trains. How are these guys doing as far as their timetable? Oh, I keep clicking the wrong thing. It's running on time. and you're running on time. With things improved, I actually could possibly take some slack out of it, but I'm just going to build a new train here. Have it start on January 1st, 63. And get you started. Okay, engineering supplies and farm supplies at SKHE. I mean, that's... The ratings are pretty high. That's the nature of the beast. I take these where they need to go. I'm not necessarily interested in delivering them, all of them, just for the sake of delivering them, so we'll leave that aside. Still here with excess passengers, but that is, once again, to be expected. That may clean up. So KWTN, you have lots of goods. Still lots of goods. And how many goods trains do I have? 2. And one thing I wonder, does Saint-Pierre Station take goods? It does. So I'm actually going to do is clone one of these, but not control click clone, because you're going to go to STP. And you can get started. Just take it somewhere different to mix things up a bit. Yeah, and then we're down to things that I'm not too worried about. The chemicals here. And there's a chemical train just showing up, so that's totally fine. Yep, and that guy's filling up. Okay. And where are my livestock and plant fiber trains? I mean, this whole thing feels a little weird to me. Oh, and now STP no longer accepts goods. So I'm going to cheese that like I did the other one. I don't like doing this, but... Where's STP? I'm totally off to lunch. Yeah, there we are. Like, if I build a freight station here, how far do I have to go? All the way to there, eh? That's frustrating. If I just built this as one of these guys, would that make this accept goods? Yes, it would. Okay, but in the interest of not critically choosing it, I'm actually going to make this functional. And now it legitimately accepts goods. No cheese required. How nice is that? Alright, so plant fibers are doing fine. Good thing I didn't build any more. How is this station doing? Perfect. But I think you want even more vehicles. So I'm going to clone 2 more of these, get them started in like about 10 days and get them going. And do the same thing over at SKH. I think 2 more is a good number. In about 10 days. And I think that's a good place to end for this episode. Things are, for the most part, doing pretty good. We can see here, just by improving that junction, it didn't, like, well, I guess we bought some trains, but for a pretty small increase in running costs, we were able to bring in $2 million more in train income, and that's probably mostly attributable to just increasing the capacity of the vehicles we had because of these improvements in stations, or in junctions. They're still flowing quite nicely, so There's still some improvements we could make. This is a big one, and down here this is going to become troublesome as time goes on. But for now, the big job of making these big, ugly four-way junctions a bit bigger and a bit less uglier seems to have been a success. So I think that's a good place to leave things. In the next episode, what I think I want to do, and I was kind of scouting, is actually get some of these new industries that we've opened up to with this existing line into service. The big one that appeals to me is actually this, this brickworks. It takes coal, sand, and clay, and most of those things are actually around pretty closely. Here is some clay. I feel like there's some sand around. Yes, this sandbank, or the dredging site here, St. Pierre dredging site, produces sand, and there's a couple other things that were appealing. Yeah, and this here another quarry that produces sand and stone. So there's a lot of things that open up. There's also a lumber mill here, and a bunch of other things. Possibly some steel production, lots and lots of things to do. But that will be the agenda for the next episode. So until then, what do we have here? Fruit plantations. Cool. Yeah, see, lots and lots of things to do that we can make worth our while. But yes, that'll be the next episode. So until then, this has been Let's Play OpenTTD FIRS. I've been rjhelms. So thanks so much for watching. As always, please leave any comments you have, any thoughts and feedback on this series, things you think that are going well or going poorly, things you want to see or don't want to see, any feedback about the channel in general. All things like that are always very welcome. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more things like this, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much.